The following is a paid program and does not necessarily reflect the views of WSIC.
Purple Heart Homes presents Putting the Pieces Back Together, a forum for veterans and the community to connect. Here are your hosts, veterans John Gallina and Brad Borders.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. It is great to be here with you all today, and just got a phenomenal show planned out once again this week. And Devin even brought show notes again to the studio. I will admit, though, Devin, I did have to add a little to these. You can't see this yet.
Oh gosh!
So don't be trying to cheat off my paper. I can already tell you were one of those. You were one of those high school students that like to sit really close to everybody else.
Well, it was mostly so that they wouldn't hit me so hard. They would wake me up in class to tell them the answers.
Yeah. I know why you wanted to sit next to everybody in the Marine Corps.
Oh, yeah. Why is that, John?
So you could steal their crayons.
Excellent.
Yeah, hey, speaking of the Marine Corps, I mean, look, we had a phenomenal event down in Wilmington, and this was a first for me. This was my first event that I went to where I traveled with Devin. Have you ever traveled with Devin, Brad?
It's
No,
not the
not
first
far.
time.
And oftentimes when I go to these events and somebody else is there going to present with me, they have to provide a bio. And in providing a bio, I didn't think anything about it. I got the email. I just forwarded the email along, and next thing I know, I get there and I look at the event. Their pamphlet, and
He put his basic training
and
picture
his
in
basic
bio.
training pictures in his bio, which is, I gotta say, I'll give it to the Marines. That's a little impressive, right?
Oh man!
But then when
they
you
stole that off the internet.
They didn't steal it off the internet. They told me that you sent all of this to them. Let me read to you what he wrote for his bio.
What he wrote about himself?
About himself.
None of this is
Star
true.
Humble.
of the nationally acclaimed video podcast, Putting the Pieces Back Together. That was like, okay, that's one thing.
You literally wrote that?
That's what he
not
wrote.
write this.
Who wrote it?
I've got email proof. J.D. Ketterman sent me the email proof. This came from.
wrote that?
Wait a minute.
not come
That's
Star.
the tip of the iceberg. Let me
Nationally
read.
syndicated.
Star of the nationally acclaimed. Right.
Nationally. Wait.
On
back
this
up.
show-
who did it get acclaimed by? I mean, who acclaimed this?
Well,
I'm not sure who even claims this,
Right,
much less
exactly.
acclaims.
I mean, this show is
Okay, keep going.
rebroadcast
That's
in
too good.
Alaska, so that
All
does.
right, wait.
It's
There's
pretty
more.
national.
But wait, there's more. On this show, he discusses veterans issues. He interviews those that can help these veterans with their specialized programs to solve their issues. I mean, that's pretty accurate. I mean, I think
Fairly.
that's pretty accurate. And those veterans that have benefited from them. Okay, that's really accurate. This next sentence, though, I don't even know what to think. I got lots of questions. I'll put
Right.
it that way. I've even listed out my questions.
All right.
Born in Fletcher, North Carolina. Okay.
Accurate.
I know where Fletcher's at. I used to live there. And kenneled in Statesville, North Carolina. Now, wait a minute.
I 100% know it was you that wrote it now.
Well, first of all,
100%.
whoever wrote that was much more articulate than me. So right there, that can tell you.
So wait a minute.
Nationally acclaimed.
Are there other devil dogs kenneled with you? I mean, is that a thing? Is there a kennel master?
Oh gosh.
Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, he is crate trained.
Okay. Well, I was wondering
Devin,
if there was
get
training.
your crate.
JD Ketterman, if you're listening, I'm gonna get you.
That's wonderful.
Who's got the controller for the shot collar?
The wife.
Oh, okay. So she's got the leash too, then, right?
Yeah. I wonder if she can press it from home. Like
perhaps.
right now. Yeah.
Well, Devin, seeing how you're the star of the nationally acclaimed
Nationally
podcast,
acclaimed.
why don't you
Again, I would love to know the governing body that acclaimed us.
why don't you take us away and introduce our guest?
Yes.
Well, I'm just dumbfounded. So we're just going to go right into it. As we all know, today is June 6th, also known as D-Day. And on the anniversary of D-Day, we have a special guest, Margaret Jembrowski, and I'm probably butchering her name.
Yes, you did.
And she is a documentarian went deep down into the story of the Lucky Herndon. Y'all heard of the Lucky Herndon?
Now she has been on a nationally acclaimed platform. She was on a TEDx platform.
That is true. Yes, So we are going up in the world. We're now getting TED Talk speakers.
It's either that or we're bringing Margaret down.
That's right.
Yeah, it's one of the two.
So Margaret, why don't you introduce yourself?
Okay, I am Margaret Jamborski, and this thing all started in 2017 when I would have introduced myself as a band mom, somebody who used to live in France. I speak French, and I'm a professional event planner. So you put these three things together, and you will soon find out why I went down a lot of D-Day rabbit holes.
We're thrilled to have you on the show, and just thank you for documenting such an important story and really helping to share that story with so many listeners. And again, as Devin said, on the 80th anniversary of D-Day, we are really thrilled to be able to have you on in this special show today. So tell us a little bit about, just kind of give us the high level. We've got a few minutes here, just about 2 minutes before our first break. So just kind of give us the high level of what really first caught your interest in this project.
So in 2017, my daughter's band, Herndon High School, I live in Herndon, Virginia, they were invited to represent our country at the 75th anniversary of D-Day in Normandy in 2019, only one of 10 bands to have this great honor. And so I volunteered to help. And at the first meeting, they said something about honoring a ship, and I had no idea what they were talking about. So I researched it, and we actually have a little museum in our town dedicated to the USS Herndon. It's a destroyer, DD 638, known as the Lucky Herndon. And I had this crazy idea that, oh my gosh, we are not honoring a ship. We are honoring 300 members of the greatest generation. And I wanted to make this a teachable moment for all these students. Make it much more than just a trip to France, something that they will remember forever and continue the legacy of honoring these great men and remembering this day.
Wow, that's amazing, and they truly are the greatest generation. And I know I've been seeing countless photos and videos coming back from Normandy and all over France, where there's a lot of friends and family that's over right now honoring their service, their sacrifice, and their legacy. And one of the most moving memorials that I've ever seen was the sketching the outline of so many that had fell and get paid the ultimate sacrifice there on the beaches all across Europe, and just very, very moving. And so thank you for helping to honor those men. And so tell us, you talked about band mom. What instrument, and tell us a little bit about that.
Well, my daughter's a piccolo player in the Pride of Herndon Marching Band. Of course, she's graduating college next year. But we had 150 students in this band going to France, and I kind of took it upon myself to be part of this committee that nobody knew was going to exist. So after learning about this in the spring, I went into the band director in the fall. I'd only talked to her one time, and I said, I hope I'm not overstepping my bounds, but I'd like you to meet some people. And I started pulling out 8x10s of sailors from the Lucky Herndon. And I would say, this is Tom Wilmore. He was a torpedo man 3rd class on D-Day, and this is what he did. And this is James Whitmore. He was in the crow's nest that morning. He was the first one to look for the guns.
Wow.
And I introduced her to 5 or 6 people, and I said, I would like our students to honor them individually.
Hey, Margaret,
and she was
let me let you pause right there. We got to stop for a commercial break. We'll be back here in 3 minutes.
Keep it right here. Putting the pieces back together with John Gallina and Brad Borders will return after these messages on 105.9, 100.7 WSIC.
All right, so we'll remain live here, Margaret, during the commercial break on social media, because we are live streaming on Facebook, and I just want to give a quick shout out to Richard's Coffee Shop. A significant loss today. We have one of our Vietnam veteran first sergeants just passed away, and Ray Adams
Really?
passed away. I believe it was either last night or this morning.
No kidding.
And so I just want to,
Oh my heavens.
I know there's a lot of people here in the veteran community. Ray's a great guy, just
Oh, my goodness.
an amazing person, an American, and so we'll be remembering him.
Yeah, for sure.
But
Hey, Margaret, what we'll do when we're coming to a break, I'm gonna have Devin will just send you a text message so that we can have a. So I don't want to have to interrupt in when you're telling something awesome, and so we'll do kind of a 2-minute warning text message to you so for the next break. So, thank you.
Right now, I'm texting the various technical difficulties and such in studio. So if I seem a little distracted from the conversation, I apologize. It's not that I'm not interested. We're having
being the star of the show. I mean,
I know.
if you need us to
I
take
did
over,
not
right?
write that bio.
I can just freely go to the bathroom.
Oh my gosh. So where are you at today, Margaret? I know you're traveling for your work, right?
I am in Norfolk, Virginia,
Norfolk, Virginia.
where the Lucky Herndon was built.
Wow.
Now, what do you do
where-
for work?
I am an event planner for the American Welding Society, and we're doing a conference here in Norfolk on shipbuilding. And the Lucky Herndon was the first World War II ship.
Where'd she go?
And we lost Margaret.
Where'd she go? Joe,
Joe, we've got a catastrophe here.
It wasn't me.
call her.
All right. Joe, I'm going to text you her number right now. Well,
Back in 30, by the way.
Yeah.
oh my. I've got to figure out this here card. So bear with us, folks, on the internet. Y'all are just getting to see all kinds of stuff.
She's back.
Oh, we can hear her.
Oh, right. There she is.
Well, I'm gonna.
Here we go. We're going
Here, so
live.
I logged
Good
in
time to
again.
be back.
Now, back to putting the pieces back together with your hosts, John Gallina and Brad Borders on 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
If you are just tuning in to Putting the Pieces Back Together, we have been speaking to the fantastic, great American, Margaret Jambrowski. Did I say that right this time?
You did not.
I did not. Let's hear it.
No.
Mr. Enunciation.
Jamborski.
Jamborski. That's right. Jamborski.
Did I do that right, Margaret?
Oh no. Have we lost Margaret?
Uh-oh.
Oh,
Can you hear me?
I can hear Margaret,
Yeah,
but I
Margaret.
can't see Margaret. But that's okay.
I thought she got mad because we butchered her name. It's like, that's it, I'm out. Yeah. So
One more strike. So, Margaret, you were telling us before the break about how you had taken the opportunity to start introducing the sailors from the USS Herndon to some high school students, and that's kind of kicked off the project you were working on.
I had this crazy idea. I went to this museum we had, and in my hand, I was holding the original muster roll, which is the crew list that was on the ship on D-Day. And what it was is a listing of 300 men from the greatest generation. It had their name, their rank, their serial number, and the date and city of enlistment, and that's all. And
not even where they were from, just their date of enlistment, right?
yeah, just where they enlisted. That's it.
Yeah.
So I became Nancy Drew with a laptop, and I made it my mission. What I wanted was for each student to represent one of these sailors individually with his photograph on their sleeve, a photograph, a bio. I wanted this student to know everything they possibly could about one of the sailors. And I figured out of 300, maybe I'd find 50 families. I had not much to go on. So I started with Chester Small-Terowitz, because how many of them could there be? And most of them returned to their hometowns. And sure enough, I found his son in no time flat. And I said, oh, I'm on a roll. And out of 300 sailors with nothing but what I told you, including a guy named Paul, no middle name, Smith, from we don't know where, Guess how many families I found. Go ahead.
No idea.
I already know the answer.
203.
294.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's
And
impressive.
the last few, there's actually 300 plus a journalist. So there are 301. So the last 7, they literally were the last of their line. They had no siblings. They had no children. There was no one to find. But I was calling all over the country, trying to find a photo of each and every sailor because they didn't exist anywhere. And I would call people and they'd say, oh, I know my dad was in the Navy, but I had no idea that what ship he was on. Other men, I'd call other families and grown men would start sobbing. You want to honor my father? And I'm like, yes. Well, but first let me tell you why it's so important. There were over 5,000 ships in the Allied invasion of Normandy, okay? The USS Herndon was the lead ship of the Allied Armada, the very first one in at Normandy.
Tip of the spear.
After the minesweepers. They were all supposed to die. As a matter of fact, the day before the assault, they were on board the USS Nevada for a church service, and all the other ships were giving them 10-1 odds that they would even come out alive. And they were told to write a letter home, make it important because it's probably the last thing you will ever write. Yeah. And they left those letters in England, assuming their ship would go down. And they volunteered for this duty. So I would call these families, and they were shocked that we would honor their fathers or their grandfathers. And it became so amazing that not only did we honor each and every one of them, 40 family members, sons and daughters of these men went with us. But the coolest thing was when I'm making these phone calls, it never crossed my mind that I would actually find 16 of them still alive.
Oh, wow.
16. I would call the phone and I'm like, I'm looking for the family of so-and-so. And this is Tom Wilmore. I'm like, no, the family of the one who served on D-Day. He goes, yeah, I did. I said, what?
Now wait a minute. 10-1 odds that they would survive.
No, that they would die.
Or that they would die.
They would all be killed because they were the lead ship. The very first one. Yeah. They were the ones that were going to get bombarded.
Because as soon as they get spotted by, a German fellow over there with some, high-speed binoculars, and, he's relaying information to some very large pieces of artillery, and, that's the first target, right?
Well, it was a destroyer, and destroyers are known for their speed.
Yeah.
They're only 1/4 of an inch thick. One little torpedo, and they're sunk.
Yeah.
So when they were cruising back and forth trying to draw the German fire, they had to go slowly. There were 6 destroyers. 3 of them went down almost immediately. But the Herndon would go left, the next ship would go right and be bombed or torpedoed. The lucky Herndon, God was on her side. And all of these men, and I say men loosely because so many of them were 17 years old, 18 years old. Yeah. They were kids. These were basically high school kids.
Absolutely.
Who saved our country and saved our world.
And that's something.
And it just blows my mind. But of the 16 I found, one of them, who currently today is the only one left.
Oh, heavens.
Wow.
Jim Claremont went with us to Normandy with his family. And he stood there at the podium where I watched President Biden stand today. And he gave a speech about serving on the Lucky Herndon to a crowd as far as the eyes could see. And every one of them was in tears.
I'm sure.
And it was like taking a rock star to Normandy with us. He's just amazing. And he's still with us today, and he's 98 years old. He was just a 17-year-old kid.
Where does he live?
He is up in Minnesota.
Minnesota.
So he summers in Minnesota.
Oh, man, that's way too cold for a 98-year-old.
Oh.
Well, and he winters in Arizona.
Oh, okay.
So,
you betcha.
It's always winter in Minnesota, though.
Yeah.
I saw a video yesterday. They've been doing a lot of. There's a lot of U.S. Army presence in Normandy today. The Rangers are over there. The commander of USASOC, First Special Forces Command, all gave speeches today, and the 4-star that is the EUCOM commander, the European Theater commander, was there, and there was a D-Day survivor, veteran there, and he got out of the Army as a private, and so Here he is wearing his uniform, it was a PFC, and like this 4-star general is like kneeling down in front of him, thanking him. Is it pretty powerful? Because 4-star generals don't generally kneel for anyone. The only time they do that is when they're presenting a flag to somebody at a funeral. And
Right.
The fact that he knelt down in front of this gentleman was pretty powerful. So.
Well, there's a lot of our Medal of Honor recipients, Vietnam and all the way down to the Operation Enduring Freedom and War on Terror, and we got a lot of people over there honoring these men and
oh
women
yeah,
that
man, there's dudes
saved
like
our world.
They're jumping into Normandy today.
Yeah.
They jumped in. Some of them jumped in yesterday. Some are jumping in today. They're jumping out of. They're all got period uniforms on, right? So they
Well,
put
Really,
some-
they got dressed up for the occasion.
like
and such.
American soldiers wearing World War
Wow.
II era gear.
That's really cool.
And jumping out of.
Because we're already back to pink and green.
Yeah,
My
they were,
sister's
yeah. I mean,
got
they look like World War
Yeah.
II soldiers when they're in their new uniforms, and so
Yeah, my sister's there. She's a reenactor. She's
Is she
been
really?
doing
Your
it for 10 years.
sister's a reenactor?
She is indeed. She does not jump out of airplanes, just so you know. But she's been reenacting for 10 years over there, and she's there as we speak, and she was there today for the big official ceremony as well. With a special
I saw this
invitation.
thing over the weekend. So Go Ruck, the community that builds rucksacks and puts on these horrible endurance events, but Go Ruck did their yearly selection event where it's an individual event and it's 48 hours long, and there's usually only one survivor of that out of 100 people that signed up. The guy who completed selection this year for Go Ruck was a German.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
He was a German, and they asked him, and they did selection on the beaches at Normandy.
Wow.
That's where they did it this year. They did it in honor. They did it last weekend, and they asked this German guy, they caught him after he got done. He was just sitting on the beach looking out at the water, and they were like, "What were you thinking about?" They did an interview with him, and of course, in a really thick German accent, he says, "I was thinking about all those Americans that were dying at the hands of my country," right? I mean, it was really fitting that you had a bunch of Americans and a German doing this together, and shows you the power of reconciliation. It was pretty cool.
Well, and just for the sake of the record and saying it, not all Germans in their own right were
True.
bad, right?
No,
I mean,
they're not.
yeah, I mean, there's
Yeah.
millions of great Germans
They
that
were
were
just
wanting
they were just
freedom.
being patriots and doing what they thought was right. And
That's the nature of war, though. I mean, often you're on the other side of the battlefield, but you don't necessarily hate that other person. You're just there to defend your country. And right and wrong is often perspective, but at the end of the day, on D-Day, June 6th in 1944, so many men stormed those beaches for freedom, what they saw as tyranny. And it wasn't just the Americans. There was British forces there as well.
Australians, too.
Australians,
Yeah.
And so.
And might I say the 30th? Oh,
Taking the time to remember them today is I think it's worth doing. So be quiet for just a moment, and just take that time to reflect on all those who gave, so that we could enjoy this great experiment in democracy. We've got just a few seconds left. We're going to be right back in about 3 minutes. You can join us on all those social medias if you want to get more of this in the break.
We'll be back with more of Putting the Pieces Back Together with your hosts, John Gallina and Brad Borders, after this short break on 105.9, 100.7 WSIC.
I've got to say, I think reading Devin's bio on air
man,
humbled
that's
him a
incredible.
little. It's the softest
Incredible.
I've ever heard.
I
him
know
say.
what is going on.
Well, today is a day for reverence.
Oh,
That's it. Yeah. So, I mean, maybe you should only have me on here on D-Day, Memorial Day, and those I'll be a little quieter.
Oh, I thought it was the threat of the shock collar coming out.
Yeah, could have been.
Yeah.
Oh my
Could have
gosh.
been. So, it's, I was watching another thing on TV the other night about, you ever heard of the Jedburghs?
I have. We've talked about the Jedburghs on the show before.
Yeah, I think maybe we talked about the Jedburghs when we had Sergeant Major Almonte on, or maybe Nick Lavery, or one of the dudes from the SF world. But
I thought we had a bird dog on.
Bird dog?
Yeah, Vietnam bird dog. Didn't we have a bird dog on? We talked about the Jedburghs.
Oh, like the aircraft?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's actually one here in the county.
Yeah,
There's
I forget
there's
who
a
that
dude.
was
I
now.
don't. Yeah, there's a guy that owns one. But the Jedburghs were a World War II mission that was prior to D-Day. You had the French resistance going on, and
Jumped in, didn't they?
three-man teams. This is where the Special Forces lineage goes back to the Jedburghs, but three-man team made up of usually an American, a Brit, and a Frenchman.
Oh,
And
It's not a bar joke.
no, yeah, they would black out the C-47s, the single stick aircraft. They would completely black them out, and then they would fly over France, and these dudes would jump out of. They didn't even have static line parachutes yet. They would free fall out of the Bombay doors. It would just drop out of the bottom of the aircraft sometimes. And
they
then
had a parachute on, right? Just not
They
the
had-
static line, right?
Yeah, they didn't have static
yeah.
lines, right?
They had to
Okay,
pull
so
their own
It
cord.
they
didn't-
had to
yeah,
pull
they
their,
pull their own
okay.
cord, yeah,
All
they
right,
would
just
free fall.
checking. I was making sure we
And-
weren't just dropping these guys in the treetops. I don't know.
Yeah, but the casualty rates.
They weren't the bomb coming out of the door.
Okay.
Yeah, the casualty rates were 70% on those guys. Only,
wow.
Only 30% of them came back, right? But
That's crazy.
D-Day would not have happened without them, because they went in and created all kinds of havoc for the enemy, blowing up rail lines and disrupting supply lines and things like that. And so a lot of the fortunate things that happened at D-Day, even though it was a tremendous conflict, it could have been way worse if the Jedburghs had not worked with the French resistance to damage the abilities of the German army to respond. Yeah, it's pretty fantastic.
Well, I mean, in that very way, there was so many factors. The disinformation that was intentionally leaked.
Yeah, like the fake army.
Yep. The real information that was intentionally leaked.
Yep.
I mean,
Yeah.
there was, there was so much that went into it that people don't really often understand fully.
So, Margaret, what was it like? You did a TED Talk. What was that? What was that experience like? How much longer do we got, Joe? Oh, 30 seconds. Let's talk about that when we come
let's
back.
come on with that.
Did you think about that
That'd
for
be
a
great.
second? And that would be really cool. But this is a fascinating discussion. We're really grateful that you're here. So, awesome.
10 seconds.
What challenge you should
They'll no longer sell
the rep
books
challenge.
year-round.
Need to write
They're
that
just
on
going to offer them ahead of the holidays and for special promotions. Tom Busby, Bloomberg Radio.
Putting the pieces back together continues now. Here are your hosts, John Gallina and Brad Borders, on 105.9, 100.7 WSIC.
Hey, welcome back to Putting the Pieces Back Together, presented by Purple Heart Homes. You can find out more about us at phhusa.org and find out what we're doing for veterans each and every day. Find out how you can get involved in making somebody's life better and making sure that every veteran has a safe place to call home. And I want to call everybody's attention to, before we turn to our guest Margaret, who's got a fascinating story about the Lucky Herndon on D-Day in 1944. This is the 80th anniversary of D-Day. But we got a couple of events we want to talk about real quick. We've got a Mission Complete coming up. So if you don't know what a Mission Complete is, that's when we finish a project and we celebrate the veteran and we celebrate the community partners. And that's going to be happening down in Dade City, Florida on June the 13th. We've got a cast of clowns going down for that.
Yeah, if
You include Timmy Bates and Joel Dalton, and I'm not sure anything will get done.
and the Devil
that.
Dog.
Oh, you're going too?
I am going too. So,
Lord have mercy.
So if you'd like to see the star of Putting the
The
Pieces back
star,
together,
that's
Come to
that
Dade
is
City.
once again out of his kennel, and
Yeah.
we'll be traveling.
He'll be
off
signing
the-
autographs.
How
and,
do they say it's not off the chain? It's off the leash.
Yeah, he's off
That's
the leash.
right.
So we also currently have a 50-mile rucksack challenge, or a ruck challenge. If you don't know what a ruck is, it's basically a backpack filled with weight. We're doing a 50-mile challenge. You can find out more about that on Facebook if you just kind of kind of Google around. Can you say Google around on Facebook? Can you say that?
I like to say the Google.
I mean, when you say Google around, it means you just search for it, and it may even be coming up in your feed, but it's real simple. You just put some weight on your back and walk 1.6
Google around.
miles
That was
every
the name
day.
of my punk band.
And if you don't want to go walk outside, 1990s punk band, right?
I'm just stealing Brad's line.
If you don't want to go outside and go ruck, one of the coolest things I saw online was somebody was doing the go ruck on a treadmill barefooted.
Yep, that was Joe Baker.
Yeah.
Joe Baker was rucking with no shoes on. He's a no shoe kind of guy. So we also got Military Makeover coming to Mooresville on July 10th. So the circuits will be coming back to town. If you want to volunteer and be a part of that and possibly get on television.
Ooh.
You could get on TV and you could be famous with Montel Williams. That's starting July 10th. Now, here's a question I have. When people want to sign up for that, do they go to Military Makeover website to sign up for those events? Because we don't have that.
Yeah, so ultimately, you can always contact us, Purple Heart Homes, through our Contact Us button on our website.
Okay.
And we will get you connected with the Military Makeover folks. But as we get closer to the event, Military Makeover will put out a sign-up sheet online.
Got it. Track it.
So stay tuned for that, and we'll have some information up. You can always go to phhusa.org, and we'll have a link there for you eventually.
Great way to support a local veteran.
And then we have the Real Heroes Fishing Tournament, the kayak fishing tournament on Lake Norman, July the 13th. This thing is blown up into some kind of monument now, and I'm not sure how many people are coming, but it is going to be a well attended event.
Not only if you sign up, you get a really awesome gift bag, right?
And you get Devin's autograph.
Oh, that's not a part of it now? Too? Devin's autograph?
That's part of the deal.
Oh, okay.
He's going to be signing autographs at Real Heroes.
And we're going to be having a captain's dinner the night before. And so you'll eat some really good barbecue and fellowship.
Basically, if you have a kayak, you sign up, that makes you a captain.
Right. So one man.
So even if you were a private in the Army, you can now become a captain, you get to go to the dinner.
That's how I get my commission?
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's
it. I didn't know.
Yeah, but I've seen you practicing being a captain. It looks more like a Bad Gilligan's Island episode. So.
He's Captain Obvious is what you are. So, and then finally, Take That Hill, our big cycling events coming up in October 5th. Oh, and Patriot Clay's coming up in September. If you like to shoot stuff, if you like to shoot clay pigeons, you can sign up for that. That's September.
So wait a minute. We got rucking.
We've got
biking. We got
fishing. We got shooting. And we got Devin signing autographs at all of them.
Tooting, shooting.
Rootin', tootin',
we
shooting.
had drinking and fighting in there, man. You got everything I like.
How about rootin', tootin', shooting, and with Devin, highfalutin.
Oh,
I like it.
Yeah,
well, let's get back to
the guests. Margaret, during the break, we were Brad was just asking you how it was to do a TED Talk. What's that like?
Wow. I was kind of shocked to be invited to present a TED Talk. It was a local, TEDx is a local TED Talk. So it was in Herndon, but I've also, I've done the TED Talk on local cable TV. I've done it to Rotary clubs, to all kinds of people in the community at this point. I've actually never felt so much a part of the community before in my life, because this story has just gone kind of far and wide.
As it should.
Super exciting to be invited for that.
Yeah, and I imagine there are, scores of folks that you'd never heard of the Herndon, the Lucky Herndon, and when they hear the story, and I think the most intriguing part about it is all of your research, right? And the fact that you found 16 men who had served on that ship that were still living, and you got to meet at least some of them, right? Personally, right? And
I did. There's one of them was a bosun, and I was just about to drive up to Boston from Virginia and meet him, and COVID hit. So once everything was lifted, I drove up to Boston. I got to meet him. We would talk on the phone all the time. I became their new best friend, and I finally went up to meet him, and he was just as darling as he could be. And 1 month later, I was invited to give his eulogy.
Oh my goodness!
Oh, wow!
Wow! Last summer, there were only 2 left, and when the second to the last one died, they called him Screamin' Dean Cumberledge. My sister, who helped me do the research, She's in St. Louis. She flew into DC. We drove up to Pittsburgh. The woman I was always scared to call and say, is your dad still alive? But the day he died, in at least 5 of these cases, the day they died, I was called immediately, same day. That's how important it was to these families. And we went up to go to the funeral of the second to the last one, Screamin' Dean. And it was one of these open casket things, which you think isn't a great thing, but we went in and we introduced ourselves. And as soon as I said my name, his daughter just fell to pieces. But in his casket, right in the middle, was the Herndon ball cap that I had sent him. And at his feet, he had made this beautiful collage of everything from the Normandy trip. He had photos of the trip. He had a photo of the student with his honor tag. He had sand from Utah Beach, anything that had to do with the trip we had done, including the letter written to him by the student. That's was the most important thing, and that's what they put in his casket to represent him. And that's about the most moving thing I can even imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really interesting as I listen to you, Margaret, and just think about the impact that you've had is to let these men and their families know that they made a difference and that they've not been forgotten. I think that's something that
100%.
everybody wants, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's up to us. It's up to us to carry the baton of remembrance, to ensure that their legacy endures. And the best thing that we can do is teach our children and our students. Because for them, World War II is something in a history book. Unless they have a relative, a great grandpa, they really have nothing invested. So going there, we made it so important to make every single thing they did on this trip a teachable moment, not just about the Herndon. Every student gathered dogwood leaves in Virginia, the state flower of Virginia, and we took dried dogwood leaves and we put them on the graves of every single Virginian at Omaha Beach Cemetery.
Oh, wow. How many was that?
200 Virginians and 50 more on the Wall of Remembrance, which means they couldn't find their bodies.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But yeah, there were pink dogwood feathers, flower petals everywhere.
It's like all those kids from Bedford, Virginia, the Bedford boys, where they have the D-Day Memorial now.
Indeed.
It was like, 28, I think, from that one little town.
It devastated the town.
Yeah. I mean, like their whole town was just...
It was the most impacted town in this entire country for D-Day.
Yes.
Yeah, I went there.
Yeah, the percentage was just mind-boggling. I mean, I think the town had, at the time, 500 people total population or something crazy like that. And, so the percentage of young men that died that came out of that town, because, what they did is that, you didn't, like now you go to basic training and you're thrown in with people from all over. And back, in World War II, they kept you together with people from your hometown because you already had cohesion with them.
Absolutely.
They didn't have the time. There was not time to build cohesion. And so a lot of people went with people from their neighborhood and went to war with them, and then unfortunately those kids just, all died at, there were some that came home, but, massive loss of life,
And that's where the National D-Day Memorial is. It's right outside Bedford.
Yeah. We got a really cool idea because, in Bedford, they put banners up for every single one of those guys year round on the light posts in downtown Bedford. And we've decided that Take the Ill at our cycling event, we're gonna have signs that people can sponsor to remember or honor their veteran.
That's really cool.
Yeah, we're
That's a great idea.
We're gonna line Barrett Mountain with those.
That's a really great idea.
Yeah.
Maybe you should line up the entire route so Woody doesn't get lost again. So you've been listening to Putting the Pieces Back Together. We are going to cut to a commercial break, but if you'd like to get involved, check out phhusa.org. We'll be right back.
Putting the Pieces Back Together. We'll be back with more of John Gallina and Brad Borders after these messages from 105.9, 100.7 WSIC.
Scott Stevenson just sent us an article from military.com with that one picture.
Oh, leave it
coming out of the Higgins boat.
Oh yeah, they love that Higgins boat.
Yeah, that's just I mean, after, you don't really get, I think with movie making, it just, if you ever watch The Longest Day, right?
Mm-hmm.
So John Wayne and Henry Fonda and all of those dudes, and you watch that and you don't really get, it doesn't even compare with what reality was like. And, the first time I ever really got a sense of what reality might have looked like was when I saw Saving Private Ryan, right? And
yeah, they said
that
that
opening scene of Saving Private Ryan was just, I still can't watch it. I mean, I watched it.
terrible.
folks were leaving
I
that
watched it-
theater going, "This is too real."
I watched it one time, and that was enough, and that was before I had even experienced combat myself, right, in any way, shape, or form, and what I experienced in Iraq was absolutely nothing like that,
And just to kind of put it into that context a little bit, you're in Iraq and there's just random shooting. Right?
Yeah, it's
it's just random fire.
like a bomb goes
This
off.
was,
Oh,
this
there's another
was
bomb went off.
focused machine gun fire at those Higgins boats.
Yeah, and you're
At
going
the-
towards it.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're.
I mean, it's
You're not-
if you did,
There's nowhere to take cover. Right?
Yeah, if you stopped, you were
man,
sitting duck,
mind-boggling.
so to speak. Right,
Mind-boggling.
I actually asked some of the living veterans from the Herndon about Saving Private Ryan, and they said it was spot on.
No
No
kidding,
kidding.
really.
Nothing exaggerated about it.
Yeah,
I mean, the water did run red.
Yeah.
just remarkable.
Well, I couldn't imagine what it would have been like for the men on the destroyers watching what was happening and knowing.
Yeah, you're going to feel kind of helpless,
Right.
unless you were like manning a big gun or something, right?
Yeah,
at least if
that's-
you're manning a big gun, you're like, at least I'm doing something.
You feel like you're
Yeah.
accomplishing something.
yeah, right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
there is something.
They were digging a lot of bodies out of the water as well.
Oh yeah,
Oh, I
because
bet.
eventually they go out to sea.
And
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah, they would dig up, they would bring the bodies up out of the water, and then when there was no more space left on deck, they would start trying to at least save the dog tags.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's what the boys on the Herndon were doing.
that is brutal.
Wow.
That is brutal. Lord have mercy. Pray God we never have to do that again. Yeah. Next one's going to be all drones.
Are we?
No.
I hear the advertisements.
He's
I
getting
hear the
he's getting ready to come
advertisements.
in
That's
now.
why I said that. I was like, did you hear him? Oh, that's the voices in my head.
We'll get that shock treatment.
Call now to speak with John Gallina and Brad Borders at 844-STUDIO-4. It's Putting the Pieces Back Together on 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
So we have been listening to Margaret Jamborski
Very good.
and hearing the stories of the USS Herndon. If you've missed any part of today's show, you can pick that up on our Facebook, or you can pick that up on Spotify or YouTube. Just check out Putting the Pieces Back Together.
We're on MySpace too, aren't we?
I think MySpace got shut down.
Oh yeah, forgot about that.
Oh my.
Yeah, broke that one out.
Yeah.
And just amazing,
Your only
just
friend was
hearing these
Tom.
stories about the USS Herndon, and nicknamed the Lucky Herndon as
For good reason.
Yeah, for
Yes.
good reason,
No,
as 100% survival rate. Is that
Right?
do I
Nobody
understand that
nobody
correctly?
perished on that ship.
100%.
Okay.
And today in Normandy at the Omaha Beach Cemetery, President Biden unwittingly referred to the Lucky Herndon today. He was introducing some of the veterans. There were 150 there today. And one of them, they talked about how he was climbing the cliffs of the Pointe du Hoc.
Yeah.
And he was protected by the shooting of the first ship. And that was the Lucky Herndon.
No kidding.
Oh wow.
Wow. Well, we got a lot to be thankful for, and I think Devin really hit the nail on the head with his opening comments here. We all need to take a moment today and just a moment of silence and reflect and be thankful for that sacrifice that has endured our freedoms across the world today.
Mrs. Giggles, who is not with us today,
She's at the beach, right?
she's traveling home from the beach now. I'm looking forward to hugging her neck when she gets home. But her grandfather was captured in World War II by the Germans and spent most of his war in a German POW camp.
Wow.
He got captured in the Battle of the Bulge in December of '44. It was his first day on the battlefield.
So
He was a
towards the end.
28-year-old draftee. And so he went through the whole war, never got drafted. He had a farm and he was working and raising kids, and then got a draft notice in late 43 that congratulations, your dad, you get to go. And so he left behind babies.
That doesn't seem like much of a congratulations
and
there.
spent the rest of the war in a German prison camp.
Just think about that in the sense of Margaret was sharing with the last living member of the USS Herndon is now 98 years old.
Yep.
And he at that time was 17 years old when he served.
You had to lie.
Yeah, a lot of them did.
Yeah.
It's my understanding that the youngest that actually served was somewhere in the neighborhood of 13 or 14 years
Yeah,
old.
I think so. He was the big kid.
Yeah.
Had a lot of facial hair. Right.
Oh man,
They were like, "Oh, we don't need your ID. You look good." Right?
You think this would be in the 80th anniversary, there's not going to be many of them left.
That's true.
You know?
No, it won't be many years before they'll all be gone. And I think that's, having guests like you, Margaret, to come on and share these stories, because I really want people to be able to find you online and hear the whole TED Talk and do their own study and research, and hopefully we have a lot of people that get impacted by this story, and because that's the way the story keeps being told.
So how can the listening audience of the nationally acclaimed podcast Putting the Pieces Back Together
starring Devil Dog
Devin, we busted him out of the kennel today just for the show.
That's right.
How can folks find you online? How can they find that TED Talk?
That's a good question. It was hosted on the Herndon Band website for a long time. There's a lot of special rules because there's a lot of music in the videos that I've done.
Oh, yeah.
And it's all copyrighted. So I'll put it up on YouTube and we'll take it down in 2 seconds. We'll have to see if maybe there's a not-for-profit who might be able to host it legally, maybe on their website without copyright issues.
I wonder where we could find one.
I'm checking into that currently, if that's something that's possible for
that'd
us
be
to
great.
have it up there.
Yeah.
So we're continuing to check in to see if that.
Great.
Stay tuned on that. If it does become available, we will let you know. But you can find the first episode of that on YouTube. Just search The Lucky Herndon. I've seen it. I looked at it earlier today. So,
but the
wonderful.
TED Talk itself is not available.
The cable version, the TED Talk, no.
Okay.
The cable version, which is really the same thing.
Yeah.
It was posted for a while. I'll have to see if the band can repost it, perhaps.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
So I'm going to ask you a question about the kids, right? So that was 5 years ago that these kids went over there. Tell me about, have you reconnected with any of the kids that were in the band, and has anybody said, "Gosh, hey, Margaret, thanks for doing all that. I didn't, know it was that big a deal until now, right? As they've gotten older."
Yeah, it's actually amazing. I can't tell you how many of them wrote about their experience, whether it was 1 year later or 4 years later, for their college essays to get into college. It just moved so many of them. One of them, one of the students, his representative, he represented the father of this guy, who, as soon as he got the letter from my student, he got the flag from in the beautiful triangle case. He took it apart. He put in the honor tag. He put in the sand and all the things along with his father's flag. And he told my student that, wherever your path leads you, just know that my father's heart will always be with you now. So yeah, these students, I actually was just at the high school this week, helping to give scholarships for a foundation I'm on, which gives back to the community, which is the local Masons. And they found out about me during this entire process. And I've been with them for a while now, and just giving back to the community. And, the band director there telling me that, she was just going through everything and crying today as they were reorganizing their display cases. And so the students that everybody's aged out at this point, but the students who are there today still know about this trip. It's actually on the band's Facebook page today.
That is awesome.
So it really meant a lot to them. And I do keep in touch with a lot of the students, and they mention it all the time, which is it's just great. It's something they'll never forget, because how can you forget? It's a moment to change their lives.
Yeah, absolutely.
As we got just about 5 minutes left before the end of the show, just more of a personal question. In doing this research project and being able to share the greatest generation story with the next generation, how has that impacted you personally?
Oh my gosh. I don't even know how to tell you. It has opened my eyes to, honestly, everything that the military does for us. I never truly, my dad was in the Navy for a short time anyway. I wasn't his whole career, but until I did this, I have so much respect for our military now and all the sacrifices they make. Before, I would see someone in a uniform and I'd say, okay, there's somebody in the military. Now I see someone in a uniform and I go up and I talk to them every time, not just thanking them for their service, but asking, where did you serve? And trying to go beyond the surface. Thank you. Because I'm just so amazed by what our young men and women do today for our country, truly.
Mm-hmm.
That is awesome. And so, real quick, something about you. I understand that you have not stopped doing research projects. Is that right?
You are not wrong. I'm the queen of going down rabbit holes, and if somebody gives me a project, well, I'm going to be on it. So somebody mentioned a little blink of something the other day, and I all of a sudden writing a biography on someone from Missouri, an 1850s kind of guy. I'm going to write that book first, but I am going to go back eventually and write a book about the USS Herndon, because I think it would be criminal to have all of this information. I can tell you stories about each and every one of them. And I don't want it to be lost again. So, at a minimum, all that information will be housed at the Herndon Museum, but I'd like to see it in a book. I don't know if it's the textbook, but 300 men, and I can tell you a story on every single one. I wish we had more time to share more stories.
I'd read it. You write it, I'll read it.
When you're finished with the Herndon, just let us know, and I can tell you some great stories about the 30th Infantry Brigade, the victors of Mortain,
Margaret,
that came to the rescue of those that
You're
were,
lucky Geppetto is not your father. That's all I got to say.
Oh, you want facts? Huh? I'll bring you some facts. You've messed up now, buddy. Let me tell you.
See Brad's
hey,
face?
did you know that the 30th Infantry Brigade has roads named after them in Mortain? They were truly the ones that came to the rescue at the Battle of the Bulge.
John was right out in front of it.
I wasn't out front. I knew the man that was out front.
He was in his Jeep. They called it the Lucky Gallina.
Oh my
Battle
gosh!
of the Bulge is where my grandma's little brother was killed.
Oh my gosh!
He's buried over there.
Wow. Well, thank you for your family service. Thank you for your service to those on the Lucky Herndon, and certainly inspiring what you've done to be able to help the next generation understand that it was real and that it was true, and that we've got a lot to be thankful for.
That's super cool. Margaret, what a great guest you've been. We're really thankful for you.
Absolutely.
Yep, I got to give you credit for bringing these stars onto the show.
Way to go, Star.
Well, I mean, we're nationally acclaimed podcast.
I guess there's a lot of time to do research in the kennel, huh?
Again, acclaimed by who?
Oh, man. Hey, if you'd like to hear more of these shenanigans, check us out next week on Putting the Pieces Back Together.
You've been listening to Putting the Pieces Back Together, brought to you by Purple Heart Homes. Please consider making a donation to this worthwhile cause dedicated to improving the lives of veterans one home at a time by visiting purplehearthomesusa.org. Join us again next Thursday at 3 p.m. for Putting the Pieces Back Together on WSIC News Talk Now.